AITA for asking my sister WTF she expected to happen at her shit show of a bachelorette party? For some reason my F32 sister, 23, and her fiance, 25, decided that the very best way to celebrate before getting married was to have a joint bachelorette party at strip clubs. They also hired a bus limo for the evening. The aftermath was, thus far, 3 breakups, 4 people dropping out of the wedding party, 1 impending divorce, and 1 arrest. The cleaning bill for the limo was more than the original rental fee also. She was crying to our mom at dinner the other day and I snorted. I tried not to, I honestly did. I wastreamed my best to just keep my mouth shut. She asked me what was so funny. I said that I wasn't sure what she expected to happen getting a group of people drunk, using illicit substances, and getting horned up watching exotic dancers. She said that I was an AmItheAsshole for judging her on her friends. I said I wasn't judging, just that literally anyone could have seen that outcome. My mom told me to apologize because my sister I shaving to replace most of her wedding party on the fly. I did. But I still think I'm right. AITA? AITA for not telling my roommate I own the house? Brief backstory. About a year ago my last remaining grandparent passed away and my father inherited all assets, including a house. I had been saving for a niece down payment, at least 50%, so I could have a lower mortgage payment each month, thus allowing me to save money for travel. When my father inherited this house, which he had no interest in moving into yet, he offered to sell it to me for well below market rate, with the caveat that he and my stepmother could eventually move into the basement apartment. I agreed, because they're both incredible people who are not at all invasive and would give me my privacy if they lived there. So he sold it to me and I moved in. Present day. About 6 months ago I started considering renting out the finished basement apartment. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a living room, and a small kitchenette, sink, fridge, microwave, but no oven. A friend of mine said his brother was moving to my city and needed a place. He's a brand new teacher and doesn't make great money, so he needed a place that wasn't expensive. I offered to let him rent my basement for way less than market rate, $650, which would include utilities. He readily accepted and signed a year-long lease. Well, a few days ago he asked if he could start paying the landlord directly instead of giving me rent money each month. I was under the impression my friend had told him I own the house, so I was confused and I told him we don't have a landlord and that I'm the owner. He got very upset and screamed at me for lying for over 6 months and taking advantage of him by making him pay so much in rent. For the record, an apartment similar to the one in my house would be well over twice what he's paying me, closer to 3 times for something as nice. He asked how much of my mortgage he's covering and I said, why does that matter? You're getting a nice, quiet place to live, access to a full kitchen and laundry room, and you're paying an amount that you can afford. My personal finances aren't really a factor here. He stormed out of the room and slammed the basement door. He's still not speaking to me. I asked a few other friends and some family members, and most said I'm wrong for having him cover my mortgage payments. Only a few say I'm in the right. So AITA for having my roommate cover $650 of my $775 per month mortgage. ETA. He has a lease, so I won't be evicting him over this alone. If he does any damage or becomes hostile, I'll look at the eviction process. But for now, he will remain unless he chooses to break the lease, which I'd allow him to do if he wants. He also didn't bother to read the lease before signing. The lease clearly states I'm the homeowner. I didn't trick him or keep info from him. He simply didn't read what he was signing. I didn't get the house for almost free as some people choose to believe. My father sold it to me for about 75% of its value, more or less as an advance on rent he and my stepmother will pay when they move in here in a few years. We already agreed they won't pay monthly rent but will contribute to utilities and groceries at that time. AITA for laughing at my brother's tattoo? This is a pretty cut and dry scenario. My 32M little brother, 25M, has been in a string of relationships since he was young enough to know what dating was. On several occasions, the relationships ended because he was caught heating with another girl. These are just the ones that I know about, there could be more. In fact, his current GF, 19F, was the other woman from his previous relationship. I'll call him Danny, still lives with my parents and I headed over on the 4th for barbecue. When he reached out for a hug, I noticed his arm was super red and he showed me his brand new tattoo that he had literally just gotten. In huge words it said, loyalty, in cursive. Where I might be is that I kinda laughed as soon as I saw it and didn't try to hide it at all. It wasn't a dramatic laugh. He said what's so funny and I just said his tattoo was really ironic. He got pissed and stormed off to his room and didn't join my parents and I, plus our sister, for dinner. I told them what happened and they said I was being an AH, and my sister said people are allowed to change. I personally think he's acting like a child by locking himself in his room, and that I should be blamed for a 25-yo storming off. AITA for putting an outside lock on my bathroom to prevent my wife from using it. My wife, 25F, and I, 31M, bought a house together about 6 months ago. This is our first time living together. Our house is an old American house that has been reformed many times. As a consequence of this, it has a silly layout where there are 2 bathrooms right next to each other that share the same wall. When we pulled the trigger on buying it, we made an agreement that I'd take the bathroom on the left with the shower and she'd take the bathroom on the right with a bathtub. Hers is much more spacious than mine. I soon learned though that my wife preferred to use my bathroom, but only to defecate. She'll go pee or take a bath or do her makeup in her bathroom, but when the time comes to have a bowel movement, she only wants to use my toilet. I usually wouldn't mind this, but the issue is that she sits very far forward on the seat, which leaves streaks in the bowl virtually every time she goes. I first tried approaching this civilly by asking why she used my bathroom. She gave me a vague answer about preferring it. Then I asked if she could at least sit back a bit more. She said it was none of my concern how she sat on the toilet. I offered to change bathrooms with her, to which she said no thanks. Then I asked her to stop using it, and she said it was her house too, so she should be allowed to go wherever she wants. I'm honestly tired of opening the toilet lid to see her stool stuck to the bowl. The day before yesterday, I installed a lock on the door that I could open with a key. At first she didn't seem to take the hint. She asked me for a key for the bathroom, to which I said no. Then, as she really had to go, she started to panic and asked me again and again to open it. I told her that she has a perfectly good toilet in her bathroom. She finally relented but came out of the bathroom extremely upset with me. She's been ticked off and demanding that I remove the lock since. Was I out of line here? AITA for asking my sister if she's had enough attention? My 30F sister, 36, is pregnant with her second child. Her first child, she didn't find out the X until she gave birth. This time, she and her husband did but have decided not to tell anyone. We've all respected that. Like, it's their business. They have made a pretty big deal about it, constantly bringing it up and trying to bait people into asking, just so they can smile and say, "We know but we're not telling." Annoying, but we avoid it. They recently picked a name. As you can guess, they didn't want to tell anyone. Cool, their choice. Boutons again. There's baiting for people to ask questions. I am also pregnant with my first. We're not finding out the X until birth, though we have 2 names picked out and have told people if they ask. I had a baby shower last weekend. My sister was there. She baited a few people that didn't know her into asking her what she was having. I ignored it. Then, while opening gifts, I received 2 onesies. One had the name we picked out for a girl, the other with the one for a boy. My aunt explained I could hold on to the other one for if we had a second or donate it. Both are pretty common names. I thought it was so sweet. My sister then said, "Oh, we've picked a name too." I already knew what would happen. A few asked what it was. She smirked and said, "We're not telling." I rolled my eyes and said, "Yeah, we know. Have enough attention for now?" She turned red but didn't say anything else. We moved in. My mom later chastised me, saying I shouldn't have called her out like that. Apparently my sister cried after. I pointed out she already had her shower where she could annoy people with all that. She doesn't need to do it with mine. AITA? AITA for telling my wife that our lifestyle will drastically change when she starts working again. My wife, 32, and I, 36M, had our baby boy 2 years ago. When she got pregnant, we made a deal. She will stay with our boy for the first 2 years, and after that we swap, and I will be a stay-at-home dad until he starts school. 2 years have passed and I will keep my promise and will be out of my job by the end of July. Just to get that straight out of the way. My wife has found a new job, but here is where the problem starts. She will make significantly less money than I did, but she seems to be completely oblivious and in denial about it. Whenever the topic was brought up by me, she shrugged it off. When I told her today that we have to reduce our running expenses by a good amount, she got angry and accused me of trying to make her feel guilty and miserable. I didn't do any of this. All I wanted Toto was make a mutual decision with my partner regarding our finances. We will have $800 less to spend per month, and that of course means that things have to change. But again, she does not care and does not want to hear anything about it. She called me an for brining it up and literally said that I am forbidden talking about it. She really thinks I want to guilt trip her into staying at home when I already quit my job. I think she is immature and irresponsible. Am I really the here? Edit for info. My wife wants to work. I would have been happy to provide for my family until the end of time, but she is just not into being a som. The agreement was her idea too. First 2 years with the mother and then me until our boy can go to school. For the people asking why I brought it up several times. Because she refuses to talk about spending cuts and I don't want to know what would have happened, a unilateral decision. We have to live with our new budget in a few weeks. Info 2. I brought all of these topics up before quitting my job. My wife insisted on our deal. Why do you guys are trying to find something to attack me instead of dealing with the already given information?